All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the June 2024 meeting of the Orlando Amateur Radio Club. If everybody will stand and face the flag, we'll say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. All right. So, pardon me while I walk around a little bit here. I've been at work all day today, sitting for nearly 12 hours, and to stand, it kind of feels good. Getting that blood flowing again. Just want to say good evening. My name is John Knott. I am N4JTK. I'm the president of Orlando Amateur Radio Club. Around the room here are other board members and stuff. I'm going to save a little bit of time because I know we're going to have a discussion about two different topics tonight that might take a few minutes. And I don't want to take away from our presenter tonight on his program that he wants to present to the group. So is there anybody that's here tonight that took the test this evening and passed? All right, stand up for just a second. Congratulations. Hopefully you guys also joined the club this evening because you guys get a free first year complimentary membership when you pass your first exam with us. So congratulations. Bob, you want to go real quick on the rest of the count?
As of the test session tonight, we had 8 pre-registered, but 7 showed. We have 3 new technicians, 2 new generals, and 2 new extras.
Congratulations, all of them. All right. One of the discussions I know we're going to talk about really quick, and it might take a little longer. Field Day. Field Day is coming up, June the 22nd and 23rd. I know I've had a couple of requests. Where's the sign-up link to sign up for stations? I will have that out to the staff or tomorrow. It is a long, lengthy process of putting in every single time slot for multiple different stations. So on top of that, had a lot of things going on that's prevented me to get it done up to this point, but I will probably go home tonight and try to get most of it done and finish up tomorrow morning and get it out to everybody. It's going to be pretty simple. We're going to have a 20-meter station voice, a 40-meter station voice, and 2 CW stations. We'll also have a satellite station, which doesn't really count against the station count, and we'll also have a GOTA station, which doesn't actually go against your count of stations. So we'll have those also. Our our event will be at the Bill Frederick Park at Turkey Lake, the same place the picnic was earlier this year. We will probably start setting up either Friday afternoon or early Saturday morning. Again, with only having a few stations, I don't anticipate it taking very long to get things set up, other than the fact we haven't been at Turkey Lake for many years to do field day. So it might take us a little longer just to get our bearings and where everything's going to go. But for the most part, it shouldn't take too long to get a couple stations set up and running before the 2 o'clock hour on Saturday. Weather is always a concern, being that we live in Florida. Our operating hours will be Saturday from 2 o'clock in the afternoon until Sunday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, weather permitting. Okay. In the years past on Sunday, because of afternoon thunderstorms coming in, there are times that when the bands start to shut down and we are not able to make contacts anymore in a particular band, we'll go ahead and knock that station off the air and pack it up. For a simple reason, we're going to try to beat the thunderstorms. Much easier to sit there and pack it up before the rains hit, or worse yet, the lightning. Nobody wants to be outside playing with antennas when it's lightning, myself included. So we'll sit there and get those knocked down if there is a threat for storms that afternoon. And we'll make sure we're trying to get everything done before the storms hit. We'll always try to keep a station going as long as we can, some sort. But as soon as we need that time frame to get the station knocked down, we're going to do so, even if it is before 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So, and we're just doing that for safety, for everybody's safety, because we don't want to mess with that here in Florida. We're going to kind of keep our menu for dinner and breakfast the next morning. Very simple. All right. I'm going to keep it simple for multiple reasons. First of all, we haven't been out to Turkey Lake in a long time for a field day to do this. Okay. And secondly is, I want to make sure that we don't overdo it too much for the volunteers that are going to be helping with the food and everything. So Saturday night's dinner is going to be very simple this year: hamburgers and hot dogs. Okay, probably chips in a bag, and then on Sunday, more likely going to be like pancakes for breakfast. Okay, and those are going to be mostly for the people there operating. Okay, or if you're coming in to operate overnight, come in a little early, grab some food, and help get yourself ready to operate throughout the night or next morning, once you have breakfast. If you have any specific dietary requirements, I recommend you bring them. Okay. It's kind of be hard to sit there and accommodate everybody. So if you have any specific dietary requirements, make sure you bring those with you while you're out there operating. What we really need everybody to do, we're cutting down our stations, so we make sure we have enough coverage on the schedule to operate for 24 hours. Okay. In years past, we kind of threw up 6 stations, 12 stations, 9 stations, all these different counts. Everybody was gung ho for the first 2 to 3 hours. And all of a sudden everybody realized, I'm tired, I'm hot, I'm sweaty, I'm tired of being behind a radio. And all of a sudden now we have half our radios not being operated during field day. So instead of doing that again this year, we want to sit there and keep it simple, have just enough stations to make sure we have coverage for the 24-hour period. How many of you guys are just technicians? Don't be embarrassed, just hold up your hand. Okay. If you're just a technician, you can still come out and operate on field day weekend. Okay. We'll be using a club call sign. You'll be operating under the club call sign. You're going to have mentors with you, and you'll be able to still operate field day weekend. Okay. Gives you a chance to get on the air that weekend and operate at HF, and hopefully catch that bug to go get upgrade your license. Okay. How many of you guys in the audience don't have an HF station at home, but have the HF capabilities or privileges? Another opportunity to come out that weekend and operate, get on the air. Okay. How many have relatives, friends, neighbors, children, or whatever, who have an interest in amateur radio, but you haven't been able to get them to get their license yet? Bring them out. Okay. Bring them out the weekend. They can get on the air also. The whole purpose is we need people out there to man the stations. Each station needs to have 2 operators. Okay. We're going to have 2-hour time slots starting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. What we always done in the past, you have an operator and a logger for each station. Hour into it, the people switch. Whoever's operating for an hour now becomes the logger becomes the operator, gives everybody a chance to be on the radio. Of course, if you don't want to do that, that's up to you guys. That's how we have always recommended in the past. Okay. We need to see people out there. We've done this many years. Fridays, when we've done setup, we've had lots of people come out on Friday to help out. Thank you very much. We appreciate people coming out and help setting up. Sunday after the event, we've always had people come out, help tear down. But for some reason, when the radios get turned on and operating starts, everybody scatters. It's almost like you're amateur radio operators, but you're scared of the microphone. Okay. Don't be scared of the microphone. Come out. All right. It's a learning experience for everybody. I personally, I'm going to tell you this now, I do not consider it a contest. It should not be considered a contest. The whole purpose of amateur radio field day is to set up remotely and make a contact to prove the point that we can operate remotely during an emergency. If you make that first contact, everything after that is gravy. Okay. Sure, I like to sit there and see OARC win top class, but you know what? If we don't, we don't. I don't care. Because again, it's not a contest. Okay. As long as you get out and have fun and make it a good time, get on the air, and we have participation from the members, it's all worth it. Okay. So please put it on your schedule. June the 22nd and 23rd is field day weekend. Come out and spend a couple hours with us. Okay. That's all we ask. We're not telling you got to come out for 24 hours. We're just asking you to come out for spend a couple hours. A couple hours on Saturday, a couple hours on Sunday, overnight, whatever. If you're a night owl, good time to come out and play radio. Okay. Again, propagation is always going to be an issue on field day weekend. My time as president for this club, it seems like if propagation is great the weekend before, it sucks on weekend, field day weekend. Okay. I'm hoping this year it's going to be the opposite. I hope it doesn't, propagation is bad the weekend before field day, because then hopefully then field day weekend will be really good. Okay. So I really hope, and I'm not going to do this. I was thought about having you guys raise your hand. How many plan on being out at field day weekend? I won't do that to y'all. Okay. But I hope you do come out. Okay. I'm asking you to. It's the field day. I'm sorry. The fees to get into the park are going to be taken care of by the club. All right. So you don't have to worry about paying to get in. All right. We'll take care of that. All you have to do is tell them that you're there for amateur radio field day or Orlando Amateur Radio Club, and they'll let you in, just like you did for the picnic. Okay. So please, there's no reason other than you're sick and in the hospital not coming out for that weekend. Okay. All right. Anybody have any questions on field day? Ed. Yes. I've always been against field day weekend in Florida. All right. People up north, especially farther up north, are enjoying that 70-degree weather still. All right. Meanwhile, we're melting here in Florida. I love winter field day. Our problem about winter field day is it's like 2 weeks before hamcation, and we're like scrambling to get things done, and I don't get to participate in that one either. So this year we do have air-conditioned cabins, the creature comforts of home on field day weekend. Okay. So please, come out, enjoy the weekend with us and get on the air. Any other questions? No. They do, and we'll have the passcode, and we'll make sure the people that are coming out for that at night know what it is. And then those that are there, we'll have a talk-in frequency that people can call on the radio and get the code. Yes? Generators are not allowed in the park, unfortunately. So we are going to be commercial power. So, and power and stuff. We might do some solar power on a station. Yeah, that's. You'll be in that cabin by yourself because it's going to be hotter than the heck. I'll be outside where it'd be at least a breeze, hopefully. So, all right. Any other questions on field day? All right. Next one. I mentioned this last month. Orlando Amateur Radio Club is assisting Sally Ride Elementary School in South Orange County by the airport in Taft with a amateur radio International Space Station contact, ARIS contact. We had our first meeting, myself, Michael, Kevin, Dave Jordan was there representing amateur radio. We met with all the school employees that are going to be involved in it. We also met up with the IT, the director of IT for Orange County Public Schools in that district that that school is in. Everybody is on board and ready to go with this project. The target week, there's 2 target weeks. The first choice is to have it the week of December the 9th. Now, just keep in mind, these dates are not set in stone, okay? And we will not know when we're going to have that contact official until about a week before the contact, okay? But the first choice is going to be December the 9th. The second choice is December the 16th, okay? Those 2 weeks. Is the following 1 week, then the following week. The primary choice is going to be December the 9th. It's going to be a better suited for the school. The week of December 16th is only a 4-day week, and then they go out on Christmas break for 2 weeks, okay? So we determined while we were out there having a meeting with the school where the antenna arrays are going to go. The actual setup will be inside the what's now known as the cafetorium. It's the cafeteria and the auditorium all in one big room. The student body is 400 students, okay? Roughly around 400 students, give or take a few. All 400 students will not be able to fit in the cafetorium during this contact, okay? So somewhere between 250 and 350 will fit in the cafetorium. The rest are going to be watching it live streamed to their classrooms, okay? To take it a step further, Orange County Public Schools is looking to live stream this district-wide to all schools that day, okay? And on top of that, ARIS will be live streaming it on their YouTube channel. So it's being live streamed to lots of different areas. We're going to have 5 opportunities starting in August through the contact date in December, whenever that is, hopefully it's December, to educate the students on amateur radio, okay? One of the first ones we're going to do is sit there and tell them, what is amateur radio? Okay, what is it and how does it work? Plus, there's other segments of that are going to be taught in 5 different occasions prior to the contact in December. On top of that, they are working on trying to bring in an actual, real, true-to-life, in-person astronaut to the school the day of the contact, okay? So everybody's putting their heads together and coming up with lots of different ideas and stuff. Again, none of this is all set in stone quite yet. If everybody understands correctly that Orange County Public Schools is now on summer break, all right? So a lot of this stuff is all being done by the teachers and ourselves during the break time for summer school or during the summertime. And all these plans are going to have to be putting in place come when school starts in August. Here's what we need. We need volunteers, okay? It's a massive undertaking to educate 400 students on what amateur radio is, all right? That's why it's probably going to take 5 different times to get the job done, all right? I'm not asking that if you volunteer that you have to attend 5 different, events, and then on top of that, the actual contact event. I'm asking you to donate time as what you can schedule into your schedules to help accomplish this. The day the event happens, we are going to have time to set up probably the day before the antenna arrays, all right? And then the day of the contact, we'll have to have help at the school to be able to do this contact and stuff. It's going to be huge. We're going to have Zoom organizational meetings, all right, where the school staff will be involved along with us amateur radio operators. We're going to do a lot of brainstorming, coming up with ideas. When plans get into place, we're going to start implementing them and getting things done to make sure that we have the opportunity to make sure that all the students understand what amateur radio is by the time the contact happens in December. So again, we're looking for volunteers. Now I see a nice little grouping of the club. Our club has over 300 members in it, okay? Not everybody lives locally. I understand that. Not everybody has the time to do this, and I understand that. But I also know that there's a lot of retirees inside our organization, okay? And our retirees, I'm really looking for your help to get this job done, okay? I have not been involved with a day of event contact yet with ISS myself. OARC was asked to do this with another school 7 years ago, and we said absolutely, except for there's 1 week out of the year that we can't do it, the week of Hamcation. Guess what week they chose? The week of Hamcation. Thank you to Lamar's. Members of Lamar's stepped right up to the plate, took it for us, and was able to get it accomplished. They didn't have all this other stuff planned. It was just the day of event contact. And I don't know if it was live stream or not, but there's a whole undertaking now. So I'm hoping, and I'm going to get a list to start a list of signups And we're going to figure out what everybody's capable of doing, what's what your niche is in amateur radio, and that's what we're going to go with. All right. So if you are good with explaining antennas, I'm not going to have you explain how a radio works. If you're better off explaining how an antenna is, okay? I want you to be comfortable in doing this and understand that you're going to be dealing with elementary school students, and they're going to ask those questions that are going to go, I should have had a V8 that morning, okay? Because they're going to make you think, all right? Students are just going to do that. All right. So again, it's an important event for OARC. We are looking forward to doing this, but we need your involvement. All right. Any questions on ARIS?
One thing real quick that actually makes the school unique is it is an elementary school, and it's kind of different because it is a magnet school, and it's actually one of very few aviation and aerospace magnet programs for a elementary school in the country. So that's one thing that makes this special. They're actually teaching this field to the students. And one of the things we actually talked to them about for future is actually helping them start a ham radio club there. So that's in the future after this, we're going to work with them with. So
first things first is the
yep.
ARIS contact. We got to get that one. But
but the bug's there now and is good for especially several of the teachers and staff that's there, even the principals on board. Hopefully this will be a long-term working relationship with the school and hopefully with Orange County Public Schools in general. And maybe even outreach to other schools after this one's done to help them also.
All right. Great. Yes. Direct contact. Nope, it is a direct contact. There's going to be 2 antennas set up. One of them is going to be, what's the word that you use? Well, it's tracking. That's the word I was looking for. It's been a long day for me. Tracking. The other one's going to be a stationary one. But yes, we
have to set up 2 stations, 2 functioning, working stations. So if one goes down, we can flip to the other one. So that's
quickly.
one of the parts of we'll need help setting stuff up prior to the event for that purpose. That it's going to take a little bit of manpower to do this and run coax, stuff like that.
And just remember, once the ISS comes over the horizon, all right, we have mere minutes to get this done. Okay, 8 minutes to get this done. That's a very short amount of time for the preparation that we have to do to get to that 8-minute start window. Okay. So we don't want to mess it up. This is one reason why Michael actually wants to do some satellite contacts during field day. Probably what Joe does is, parks on the air or the weekends in the park. Try to get some more involvement of people doing satellite contacts during those events. So we can get a little practice in before the event happens in December and stuff. So if you are good at satellite radio or satellite contacts, all right, done satellite contacts, I really hope that you be one of the first ones that sign up, because this is a great opportunity for our organization. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, sir. There's all types of things that could possibly happen during the event and stuff, especially doing a direct contact like that. So we'll have to work through stuff, and we'll have to be prepared for different stuff if it does happen and stuff. So I'm sure that once the word gets out that this is happening, because the school is also going to be doing a lot of social media and PR work in preparation of this event too. So getting people involved in the community and stuff. The school serves an underserved community. Okay. So this is very exciting for the students and stuff. And we've been told already by the students, or excuse me, by the teachers involved, that they already are starting to get hyped up, because they're knowing that come this fall/winter, they'll be talking to astronauts and stuff. And that's really exciting. That's something you just can't really do on a cell phone. Okay. So, all right. Any other questions? All right. want to remind everybody, July's meeting is not happening, okay? July's meeting falls on July the 3rd, and there's another large event that happens on July the 3rd in the local area called Red Hot and Boom. Seminole County Aries and Lamar's needs your assistance with that event and getting eyes and ears into the park during Red Hot and Boom. So I'm hoping that you guys will be available to do that and help them. Unfortunately, I got to work July 3rd again, but we're not going to be having a meeting. So please don't come down to the Beard Hall Center going, where's the meeting? Okay. Because it's not going to be here. We will come back on August the 7th as scheduled and start our normal meetings up. Okay. This doesn't happen very often, but when sometimes in a city facility, we have to abide by city holidays and stuff like that. There was concern last year when we were talking about our meetings that they weren't sure if they're going to be open yet. I don't know if they're going to be open yet on July 3rd. The board made a decision, 6 months ago not to do July's meeting because of it and stuff. We just wanted to get that out of the way from the start, and everybody knew that what July's meeting wasn't going to happen. So reminder, July 3rd next month will not happen for OARC meeting, okay? And no test session either. We'll come back in August and get started again. All right, Michael, did you have some updates you want to talk about?
Yeah, real quick, couple things. Hamcation 2025's approaching really quick, too quick. So the website will go live in August. Once that does, everybody can go up there to volunteer. One thing I have been working on is wrapping up for 2024. And a couple days ago, Anna sent out all the checks that donation checks that had to be mailed, which was everybody not local. I have a stack of checks here. If I call your name, these are people, some of them that I cannot go to in person to give checks to this month. Is Rod in here? Let's see, Rod. You take it, Dennis. Oh, I'm sorry, Dan. There we go. CFRA.
He's coming.
I figured I'd give it to you now since the meeting just happened. I just didn't want to hold it for a whole month. Orlando, sir, Mike. I can let you know we give out over 60 donation checks this year. So there was a lot of them that went out, and over 15, almost $16,000 in donations. CERT unit 62. George in here? Not here. You can take it to him. There you go, Lou. Thank you. Knights of Columbus. While we're there, Seminole Aries. All right, thank you. Paul, that's the one I'm looking for. I thought I saw you. All right. Who's Solavita? I don't remember. Oh, didn't have maybe I didn't look through all of them. So I will go to Lamar's meeting, Orange County Aries. Oh, I'm sorry, another one. QCWA. I knew I was forgetting one. I'm getting there because I forgot.
See, he's already qualifying to be a member.
I only got a couple more years and I can join.
They don't discriminate on money,
Are you
right?
going to see Jeff? Does he still go to the hospital things? Can you give that to him? Seems like every year I have an issue mailing this, so I just try to give it to somebody to see him. All right. The other one, anybody have any connections with the guys at UCF? Because that's another one that always gets kicked back to me. I know they got a new president. I just got to figure out who it is. Do you? Okay, I'll get with them then for that one. And that was it. So thank y'all for volunteering. Without all y'all, Campcation wouldn't happen.
All right, Michael's going to have some other things he's going to have to talk about here soon, probably in the newsletter or at August's meeting. He still needs more volunteers. All right, one last thing I have, and I'm going to go very quickly around to the board members and other clubs afterwards because I want to get into our break so that way Mark has his time that he needs for the presentation. The last thing I have before we go to the board meetings, coming up on June the 15th, which is not this coming Saturday, I think it's actually next Saturday, at Evans High School. I mentioned this again last month. I'm mentioning it again now because it's a great opportunity to come out and learn more about hurricane preparedness. The Orange County Hurricane Expo will be at Evans High School on June the 15th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Okay, so they give out giveaways. You get in the years past, I don't know what they're giving out this year. I couldn't tell you because I don't know. I don't have that much of an inside connection, but in years past, they've given out weather radios and first aid kits. All right. So by just coming out and attending the Hurricane Expo, plus as a great opportunity to connect with a lot of different Orange County government divisions that can help you out, like stormwater and public works and stuff like that there if you live in the county, or even there's some city representation out there also. Okay. Orange County areas will have a booth there talking about amateur radio, and it's a great event. It's usually pretty crowded, so it's gotten more and more popular every year. I was looking back on some Facebook memories, I guess you could say, from about almost 15 years ago when the very first Orange County Expo that we did was at the Fashion Square Mall, back when Fashion Square was something to go to. It was a 2-day event, Friday and Saturday. And I was like, I totally forgot about that. It used to be a 2-day event. Now they've gone down to just 1 day for 4 hours and stuff. So come out and get yourself, prepared for hurricane season, which has already started. If you haven't been watching the news lately, I highly recommend you watch the news because they're talking about a very busy year. Okay. I hope it's just every storm stays out in the ocean. All right. But it only takes one storm to ruin our day. Okay. Just remember back in 2004, if you were here during Hurricane Charlie, that was a fast moving storm and all the damage it did in a matter of hours that it crossed over the state. And there was 3 of them that year, but Charlie was the worst. So, but anyways, enough on that. I want to just make sure everybody knows, come out and participate. Come out and go through the expo and get all the materials you need to get yourself prepared for hurricane season. All right, I'm going to go around to the board very quickly first. The ones that are here, Michael.
I did have one other thing. Back last month, Kevin did a nano VNA demonstration at our Orange County EOC. Somebody there asked me to pick them up a book that he had in his slide. Was that you? Okay. This is your book. I have it for you. I wasn't sure who it was, but I remembered it. So I just want to put it out there over who it was. See me. I have your book. I got it from Hamvention when I was up there. So, all right. That's all I had.
All right. One thing too, just so you know, there's another book that's going to be raffled off tonight or door prizes. Okay. So if you're there or if you have an NOVNA, good opportunity to get a book on it. Just real quick too, if you did not attend that Nano VNA, sometime coming up in the next couple months, once it gets scheduled, we are going to do another presentation. Kevin has agreed to do it. This one is going to be on Zoom, okay? And it'll be recorded on Zoom also. We're going to try to record that one that night, but because of the new electronics at the EOC and everything's not kind of new, it just didn't work out. So we skipped that part and moved on to just doing the presentation and agreeing to doing a second one. So once that date is set, I will get it out to everybody and it'll be in the evening sometime So everybody should be able to attend it and stuff. All right. Let me go to Bobbin. Bob C.
Just remember, if you plan to take your extra, July 1st, the extra exam is going to change. The question pool will change. So if you studied under the thing, you only have one more chance in this area to take the test, and that's at the Lamar session coming up the third Saturday of the month.
All right. Ed, James, Frank T. Good. Okay. I'm going to go around the club updates again. If you don't have anything new this time to help us save on time, you don't have to come up. CFRA. And then after Bobbin gets done with CFRA, he can bring out the refreshments.
Morning, good afternoon, evening. Hi. Central Florida Repeater Association meets on the last Wednesday of the month at Perkins at the corner of University and Forsyth. Start getting there about 6 o'clock. Have your own meals, you pay for them. 7 o'clock, we have a small impromptu meeting and we just have a lot of fun. Repeater is downtown Orlando, Colonial I-4 area, 443075, standard 1035 PL. It's analog and fusion. It's open. You can use it. Thank you.
All right. QCWA.
Meeting next Thursday, net Tuesday evenings. No change.
No change. All right. Lamar's. Who's doing Lamar's? Oh,
Surprise. My name's Joe, Kilo Quebec 4, Alpha India Delta. Lamar's is having a meeting tomorrow. 7:30 is at the Winter Springs Senior Center. It's going to be a Go Box Expo. So if you'd like to come and visit, bring your Go Box if you have one and show it off to the crowd. This Saturday, June the 8th, we will have Hams in the Park. That will be at Trotwood Park. If you're not sure what it is, it's a chance. We get together in one of the local parks as a group of amateur radio operators. If you need help with stuff, we help you. If you have gear, bring it with you. If you don't have gear, come out anyway and we'll help you get on the air. If you go to the Lamar's website, lamars.org, you can learn more about it. Just go all the way down the bottom. You'll see a Hams in the Park link. And then John talked about field day. Lamar's is also doing a field day. If you get tired from John's and you live in our area, don't be bashful and come stop by. We'll be at Central Winds Park. No air conditioning, but we have trailers for every station and they are air conditioned. Correct, except satellite, but it's still good. And then also on July the 4th, Lamar's is supporting the city of Winter Springs for their Celebration of Freedom event. We're just basically share ham radio with the public, but we're also additional eyes and ears for the city of Winter Springs. If you'd like some more information on that, just go to the Lamar's website again, scroll down to the bottom where all the events are, click on the link, and you can learn more about it. This is a very easy public service event. And if you've never done one or you just want some more practice, you just need a handheld. If you don't have a handheld, still come out anyway, and we'll pair you up with somebody. And that's it.
all right. Appreciate it. All right. Either cert ham radio groups want to have any updates? Good. Okay. Good. Okay. Radio scouting. I know Ken always has updates.
Well, real quick, we don't do normal meetings, but we just picked up 3 more scouts from our Philippine branch. There you go. See? They just got licensed yesterday, and we sent out their 3 radios. So, which is interesting that they are underneath our program here because we're helping them to fund. And so every time they get their FCC license, it's our address, which is interesting.
I want to share rather than trying to get there, but right now. All right. Shriners. Anything from Shriners? Nope. Nope. Good. Weak signal. George isn't here. AMSAT. Lara. Solavita. Hold on a second.
Jeremy KQ4AFY. I will be working with the Solavita Radio Club down in Poinciana. We do operate inside the Solavita community from the pavilion on generator power. No, we don't have AC, and no, but we have a good time and lots of radio time. I'm usually there from setup to tear down, except for last year when I had to get to the Hamcation committee meeting for the last one before Hamcation. So I drove to the meeting, back, and then finished the rest of the day on Sunday closing up.
All right. You guys are going to learn air conditioners are going to be a necessity on field day weekend in Florida. All right. Seminole areas, anything new?
Good evening. My name's Frank Tagliani. I'm your president and emergency coordinator for Seminole County. We have a brand new website that's professionally designed by a real engineer. That's me, anyway. So get out there and check it out. SeminoleAries.org. Everything's on there, including our annual events that we support. Summer Field Day for Lamar's is one. We bring out about 3 pounds of bacon for breakfast on Sunday morning. So come on out if you want bacon and eggs and all that pancake stuff. Red Hot and Boom. If you're interested, Bob's going to be handling it this year. He's our VP. I'll be out of the area. So give your email to Bob and to Clarence Rogers, who's in the audience back there. He's our secretary. And I'll be sending out email blasts about Red Hot and Boom. It's a great event. You get the best seat in the house for the fireworks because you're up on the parking garage. So come on out and you get treated and fed and everything else. Thanks.
All right. Last two Osceola areas, anything just okay. In Orange County areas is our meeting's next Thursday. Interested, contact me. I'll tell you all about it at that point. All right, we're going to take our break. I wanted to kind of go, the break is going to be kind of quick tonight. So grab your coffee or donuts, have a seat and stuff so we can get into our presentation. Our presentation, and Ed will do a formal introduction, is 9 Steps to Solar Success by Mark Brecky, and his call sign is KB7RHI. So if you grab your refreshments, come back to your seats, and we're going to get started here in about 5 minutes. All right, we're gonna have 2 minutes, folks. 2 minutes, we're gonna get started. 2-minute warning. All right, folks, if everybody can have a seat, we're gonna get started. You want to spotlight him so that way he would be the only thing to see other than his presentation. All right, real quick before we get started, if I can have everybody's attention for a second. How many got to watch or get to see the space launch today? Excellent. That counts. That counts. You know, that went up. It was around 10:50 this morning. I thought this was going to be the make it or break it moment for Boeing. So it looks like they finally made it, get it up there. I think a lot of people are starting to lose confidence. All right. Let me turn the microphone over to Ed, if I can have everybody's attention, please. That includes everybody in the back. Have your attention, please. Ed's going to introduce our speaker. Please give Mark your full attention. And if we need to, we'll dim the lights at the front here so that way everybody can see the screen a little better.
Thank you, John. Mark Brakey, KB7 RHI, has worked as a legacy health system as a neonatal intensive care unit RN and is planning to retire next year when he reaches his 45th year. Mark is a solar power enthusiast and has been passionate about teaching classes on solar power for about 9 years. He operates the Shared Resources High Frequency Radio Program Gateway Station for the Washington State Department of Emergency Management. Mark also hosts 3 VHF UHF WinLink gateways as part of being a member of Clark County Aries team. He has installed a high elevation Vera FM high-speed digi for the Portland, Vancouver area. And Mark is also a member of the Armed Forces Military Auxiliary Radio System, MARS, his call sign AFA0RS, and he enjoys digital communications and solar power. Thank you, Mark, for being willing to share your knowledge with us.
You're muted.
You're muted, Mark.
Everything up here. Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay. All righty. Well, greetings from the Northwest. And this is a slide presentation. I did a little bit of modification that I did at CPAC last year. 9 steps to solar success. We don't have as much sun as you have in Florida, but this is going to be really good with the stuff coming around the corner. Okay, so I'm going to talk about lead acid batteries, lithium iron phosphate, power boxes, power management, and a few other things that are going to be helpful. I'll try to go through here. So starting right off, if you have a lead acid battery, this is a 55 amp hour battery, you'll probably already have a fuse within about 6 inches of the battery. This is a PowerWorks RGH10, which is really nice. The next thing you're going to do is hook up a distribution block so you can make some connections. And this is just a little solar charge controller. You want to always hook up the solar charge controller first, and there's a little inline meter here. In the background, you're going to see a 40-watt solar panel and a 15-watt solar panel, and you can actually parallel those two panels together. You just hook them into a distribution block, and then you have your power cable going over to your setup, and then you can add your radio. Now, one type of solar charge controller I started out with was a SunGuard. It's a 4.5 amp hour. It's a PWM charge controller, and basically what that will do will allow the power from your solar panel to go directly into your battery and just kind of watch the voltage, and that'll be the bulk charging stage. It'll get up to about 80% of the charge in your lead acid battery. And then the voltage gets high enough that there's a set point that it doesn't want to exceed, because that would be off gassing in your battery. You'd have electrolysis and you'd make hydrogen and oxygen. So it goes then into an absorption phase. So it went from constant current, kind of a faster charge, to then more constant voltage, and it'll taper down the amperage. It takes a little bit while longer. And this particular charge controller just for 4.5 amps, and it's just for lead acid batteries and open circuit voltage. The panel is just a single panel, no in series. Now, if you want to step up to a 100-watt solar panel, which is more common, this is a Renogy 100 watt. You could have a Morningstar 6 amp charge controller. You'll need a charge controller for 100 amp 100-watt solar panels that can handle at least 5.5 amps. This one can easily do that. But if you do buy a charge controller that's limited to 6 amps, you're really not giving yourself the opportunity to grow your system unless you buy another charge controller and hook that up to a panel. If you go down to Camping World, you can get this inexpensive $20 Nature Power charge controller. This one is a first generation charge controller. And basically what it does, it'll protect your battery. If your voltage drops to 13 volts, it kind of opens up and turns on the solar. It rises to about 14.2, it cuts out and turns it off. And they're about 30% less efficient than your PWM charge controller that does pauses to try to interrupt the flow of energy into the battery. Now, on the back of your solar panels, you got the MC4 connectors. I just want to make a comment about those. You do not want to disconnect or connect those under load. A lot of people use the Anderson power pole connectors, and we can do some hot connections from time to time. It's better if we don't, but I just want to make sure I mention that. So the game changer that we have is the lithium iron phosphate batteries. They can easily fit in your backpack, and they can actually output an amazing amount of power. This one by Bioeno Power, these are the ones that I have. They're really made well for amateur radio operators. You've got the Anderson power pole connectors. This can do 12 amps continuous, so you can run your mobile radio if you had to. Now, just talking about some differences between lead acid batteries and the newer lithium iron phosphate batteries. We all know the lead acid batteries are very heavy. They can accept a charge of about 20 to 25% of their rated amp hours, but how much they can output is more limited. If I got a 100 amp hour battery, I probably don't want to go more than about 20 amps or so. One of the reasons for that is the higher the load is on my lead acid battery, the voltage drops down lower. and it can impact our radios. They're designed for 13.8 volts plus or minus 15%. So that's a lower voltage that I don't want to go below of about 11.7 volts. As I mentioned earlier, lead acid batteries can kind of fast charge up to around 80% or more of their state of charge, and then they have to slowly do that absorption for the last part. There's a sloping discharge curve. You can safely discharge down to about 50%. You're going to shorten your battery life if you go down much lower, and you may also have the lower voltage when you're trying to key up your radio. They need to be charged back up pretty soon after use, because sulfation is a natural chemical byproduct of giving you the energy, but now we have to charge them back up. Otherwise, those sulfation that you have can crystallize and be damaging to your battery. They'll last a shorter amount of time, about 500 cycles, 3 to 5 years. Lithium iron phosphate, on the other hand, they're very lightweight. Bioenno Power used to say 30% was the max that you would charge. They've done further testing, and now they're saying up to 40% of the rated amp hours. But the amazing thing is they can output 100% of their amp hour many times, or even more. They can fast charge nearly to 100% of state of charge. So you have a lot of power coming in. It'll taper off right at the end. And then one thing I want to just quickly mention, if you get a Bioenno Power battery and you get the little wall charger, you might have the little red light that's on and then it turns green. Don't disconnect right away when it turns green. What it needs to do is have about another 15 minutes or so of continuous exposure to that 14.6 volts to kind of do some cell balancing. That's a final part of where you're going to charge it. So they can fast charge to about 100% of state of charge, and they have a fairly flat discharge curve. They don't drop down a lot, and at the very end, the voltage drops off. You can actually discharge these down to quite low, near 0%, and there's no sulfation issues. They last a lot longer. They're more expensive, of course, but they last longer, and price-wise, it makes more sense. Lasts about 2,000 cycles, a number or backpack size. And I would say that 55 amp hour battery that's around 39 pounds or so, when you go to lift that up and move that around for portable operations, that's no fun. Okay, so here is a little 6 amp hour battery, and it's a good practice to go ahead and put an inline fuse. If you're at a scene of an emergency or something, a safety officer comes around, he's going to want to see that you're using best practices for electrical safety. Go ahead and hook on your distribution block. Go ahead and add a charge controller. Always do the charge controller first, and then lastly, hook up your solar panel. So the charge controller is ready to see what the battery voltage is and do the acceptance and be turned on. One of the backpack size solar panels, Bioenno Power has this foldable 28 watt. If you look inside, it does have a port for charging a phone, and you can just see the size of this equipment is really pretty easy for getting out. One thing to know, this small charge controller is an MPT 150. I'm going to talk more about MPT later. It does have some noise, but it's okay for like FM, VHF, UHF. Here is just where it's out, unfolded, and the picture's kind of dark, but you can see the power cable going to the charge controller, to an inline meter, to your distribution block, your battery, fuse, and going to that, and then just add your radio. Also, you could have your HT, and of course, bring your bigger antenna, better for transmission. This is the 9 amp hour battery. I think it also does about 12 amps continuous, giving you a little bit more time out. This particular foldable solar panel is an Acco Power 50 watt. And then another one that's really nice, I think these are close to $125, is the Bioenno Power 12 amp hour battery. I think this is one of the largest that you can take on a plane. A friend of mine has a portable HF kit that he's taken to Europe and to Asia. This was the size battery he was using, but check with TSA to make sure if that's still okay. This will put out 20 amp max, so it's good for maybe medium power HF, but for high power, you'd want to probably step up to something a little bit larger. This is a solar panel here with a GV5 charge controller. Those are more RF quiet. And this is the BSP 60 watt panel. Now, what I like about these foldable solar panels with the little pocket is you can actually put some power cable in there, and you can put your charge controller, and it's just a lot more convenient. It has the little support legs that you can see here, and this is kind of what a setup could look like. The picture's not that good, it's kind of dark. Now, the game changer, I think, is when we started coming out with the smaller power boxes. This one has a 20 amp hour battery, and 20 amp hour batteries are perfect for connection with a 100-watt solar panel. That is your sweet spot. PowerWorks has recently come out with their PowerBox 20. And you'll notice on these power boxes, they'll have the Anderson power pole connector on the side. I'll take a little 10 gauge wire with PowerPoint and a little extension so I can drop it right onto a distribution block so I can get a lot more connections. This is just looking at the Impulse Electronics. You've got 2 power pole connections, an automotive, you've got digital voltmeter, and you've got to charge your phone. On the inside of them, you've got some areas to put some extra items. This is pulling those items out of the box. I've got my distribution block, my charge controller, a little bit of cabling for charging a phone, and I have another little adapter that I can put in that automotive plug to even charge another phone. This is the inside of the PowerBox 20. It still has a little bit of room to put some items, and then one of the features that the PowerWorks 20 amp hour box does have a light on the side, which is kind of nice. Now, this diagram, or what we're seeing here, is just talking about the different size batteries. What's the maximum charging amps I can put into this different size amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery? And then if I'm using an MPPT charge controller, what's probably the max size solar panel I should be using when I'm working with it? So a 10 amp hour battery, 50 watts, a 20 amp hour, 100 watts, a 30, 150, you see the pattern there. And then on this table here, these are more of the sizes that Bioenno Power has. This is a 6 amp hour on the left. I can output a max of 12 amps continuous, but when I'm keying the mic, that might be very handy to be able to go up that high. And then the maximum power I should be charging it is at 40% or 2.4 amps. The 9 amp hour also will do the 12 amps, 3.6 amps max charge. The 12 amp hour, yes, it does the 20 amps. I can go up to 4.8. Unfortunately, the 12 amp hour is just a little too small in size to accept the output of a 100 watt panel. But as you go up to the 20 amp hour, the actual battery management system, the little chip that's in the battery that helps protect it, it can actually be set for different settings. This 20 amp hour could take a peak load of 40 amps, and you'd use 8 amps to charge it as max. 30 amp hour could do 30 amps output, 40 amp hour 40 amps, and 50 amp hour 50 amps, with 20 amps as your max charging. Now, just looking at some different setups, this is a 100 watt solar panel. I got an MPPT charge controller, inline meter, distribution block, and I could hook up my radio to that distribution block and be charging 2 phones at the same time. This is another setup. This is a foldable solar panel by Bioenno Power. It's the BSP 100. The pricing on this is a lot higher than some of the newer stuff that I'm seeing coming out now. Renogy has a 100 watt solar panel that folds out with a magnetic connection, and that's about 125 on sale right now. These are around 220. So that's quite a price difference. If you get a foldable solar panel, realize that it's out in the sun, it's really hot. Don't fold it up right away like somebody accidentally did. With this one, you'll destroy your panel. The coating is, they have what's called ETFE and PET. Those coatings get really hot. They cannot just have those surfaces come right back together. So I don't want anybody to have a bad day and have this happen to them. Another way I can give 100 watts to a little 20 amp hour power box is they've got these little SunPower 50 watt flex panels. They're very skinny. They have a warranty of about 80% power. It says for 5 years. I'm sure it could go much more, but they're just very skinny. I can put a couple of these in the back of my F-150 pickup and just kind of cover with a towel so no one sees them. They're easy to pull out, and just the sizing is a lot easier. Now, technically, you can take 2 lithium iron phosphate batteries and parallel them together, but there's some things you got to be very careful about. You want to make sure that the age of the 20 amp hour batteries is probably within about 3 years. You want to top them up on the charge and make sure you've had it time for the cell balancing. Then they could be put together. They're the same size. And in this particular picture here, there's also a DIY Solar for You solar charge controller. Those are designed to be more RF quiet. Then talking also, if I had 2 20 amp hour power banks together, each of those 20 amp hour batteries could take a 100 watt solar panel. So what you can do is you can take a 100 watt solar panel, connect to a charge controller, go to your distribution block. You can take another 100 watt panel, come to another charge controller, go to your distribution block, and you can have a total of 200 watts of solar coming in and a max, you'd have your amp hour of 40 amp hours. The MPT 150, the 150 says how many watts they're rated for, but they're very inexpensive. They are noisy some, but still okay on FM. PowerWorks has what's called the Power Box. I think this size will take up to like a 50 amp hour battery. I have a 30 amp hour. This is an older model. And this shows some of the things you have. You have the Anderson power pole connectors. You have the voltage reading there. You've got a couple of connections for your phone, automotive. And then what I liked about the power box is at the very end, you got these binding posts. Just go ahead and put some ring terminals on that and run that down to Anderson power pole so I can lay down flat a power distribution block of like a SP8 or something. And then I got multiple ways I can connect into that. Their newer power box has state of charge by voltage. They claim that there's some minute changes that they're able to work with that. I haven't tested that, but that's what I understand. Now, what I love about power boxes, you're protecting your battery. You've got a fuse to start with, and then you can put so many things in it. I've got an inline meter. I'll just pop this picture open. I can have my power cable. I can have distribution blocks. I can have charge controller. I can put an inline meter. I can even put a headlamp, another distribution block, extra fuses, all of that in one simple way to carry and then protect your battery. Now here is just an example of 120 watt. Think of solar panels as your all-weather and your dry weather panels. I know you get some rain from time to time in Florida, and these foldable dry weather panels probably wouldn't be happy with the rain. This 120 watt foldable suitcase panel from Biona Power, it's hooking up to a Jenison GV10. Jenison and DIY Solar for You make MPP charge controllers that are more RF quiet. So if you're enjoying HF, this type of a setup would be more appropriate for and have more joy. This is the inline meter we're using there right now and a distribution block. This is just the same setup here, but I went and switched over to an MPPT 150. This particular one here would be a little too noisy to have as much fun on HF, but for VHF, UHF work, it would be fine. Now the 120 does have a folding, it folds up and goes in this case to carry it around. This was just an example of having a station and having a fan. I bet you a fan might be a little more interesting to have when it's really hot down in Florida. BioInnoPower also makes a foldable 150 watt panel, and it works, it's kind of the max nameplate for the MPT 150 charge controller. The MPT 150 is made by two companies that you can get, one from PowerWorks and you can get one from Impulse Electronics. The one from PowerWorks, you're going to see the red and black to go to the battery, and you're going to see the yellow and the black to go to your solar panel. You're going to, if you buy one of those, you're going to see an MC4 connector. The rationale why they're doing that is they're thinking to themselves, somebody's out and their power cable got messed up, and they might be able to get another MC4 connection to go to their solar panel. What I do is I just go ahead and cut off the MC4 and I put a couple of Anderson power pole connectors. That's just my personal preference because this is a dry weather panel. I'm going to be in a dry weather situation is what I'm planning on here. So this is the BSP 150 watt solar panel opened up. So 50 watt, 50 watt, 50 watt. It's going to the charge controller that's kind of small. I can see what output I'm getting from solar, go to my distribution block, and then go ahead and add my radio. This is another type of solar panel. It's kind of what we almost call a solar suitcase. This is the Renogy 200 watt. It's really nice. And it also has a built-in 20 amp hour PWM charge controller. If you look on the back of this panel, you'll see that on the right-hand side, there's the cable coming from that panel over to the box on the other panel. Then it comes down. And then I went ahead and put in a connection right here with Anderson power pole connectors where I can connect and disconnect. That goes into the charge controller. This charge controller is multi-chemistry. You can select if you're doing lead acid or if you're doing lithium iron phosphate. And from there, it will go up out to your system. The nice thing about this size panel, the 200 watts, is the native amps that you get from a 100 watt panel is around 5.5 amps. So if you have two 100 watt panels like this, you'll get about 11 amps. And that's perfect if you happen to have that 55 amp hour battery because you're charging it at 20%. Now, if I want to go ahead and bypass the PWM and get a little bit more power out, I can go ahead and just disconnect and make a direct connection to the power that comes from this solar suitcase and then add my own MPPT charge controller. Now, PowerWorks has the Mega Box. It's a wider box. It has more connections. And I've actually come up with a game changer that I want to take a few moments to share about. Inside, well, not inside yet. So on the outside, you've got your digital voltmeter. You got an on-off switch. So these items here, which would have a little bit of power draw, are turned off and don't bring down your battery. You've got Anderson power pole connectors, two up here, two here, your automotive 12 volt. And once again, you've got this coming down, and it has like a 40 amp fuse inside. Now, a lot of things, once again, this is a 70 amp hour battery. So it's kind of the largest battery that Mega Box will carry that you can get from PowerWorks. You don't buy this separately. It comes by way of PowerWorks via this box. But notice you've got a lot of room to put some extra items. So here is some items that I pulled out of the box. I've got my power cable to go. That's probably about 25. I use 25 to 30 feet of 10 gauge wire, so I have less line loss. I've got two charge controllers here. I've got a couple of cables for charging phones. I've got an inline meter. And then what you see down here in the lower right-hand side is I custom make these little connections. So I can connect a solar panel to one, a solar panel to the other, and then I have a side that goes to the charge controller. And this is how I set up for wiring in series. So it's just an easy little way that you can set up and wire it in series. Now, the game changer that I saw with a lot of videos regarding what RVs are doing is Victron makes some excellent products. And one of them is the Smart Shunt 500 amp, 50 millivolt shunt, which actually can then show information on how much is going in and out of your battery. It's a gas gauge for your battery. I'm going to have another picture that shows and talk more about how I wire this up. Okay, so this picture right here, you got the SB50, the 50 amp plugs here, Anderson power pole plugs. Just realize that you want to stick with the color gray. They have different colors, but they key code differently. So I want to make sure PowerWorks is using gray. I use gray. I'm using 8-gauge wire here, and I have about 7 inches going across and then 5 inches coming down. And then on the top here, on the shunt, you're going to have one side of your negative black wire goes to your system. One side goes directly to your battery. And I have about 5 inches there. And then I just use number 8 wire, and it's your lug should be a 3/8 inch lug. You put this on, and then you'll see this small little bit of wire here, this red wire. That is the little bit about a power that the shunt needs to be able to turn it on and operate. And what you can do is you can plug that into the other cable that comes out of the battery. The Bioenno Power has the connection that's with an SB50, and then it has a power port connection. Now, so just talking more about the shunt, it's a gas gauge for your battery, shows how much power is going in and going out. And it can be a real challenge when you start having successfully a fair amount of solar coming in and a fair amount of power going out. You got these 5-volt access ports, you got 12-volt, and pretty soon you're thinking, well, I can't put an inline meter in all those places, and I really want to do good power management. This is what I find works well, and it uses Bluetooth, and then there's an app called Victron Connect. With that app, you can actually watch and see, and I've got some screenshots here in this presentation. So in this screenshot here, this is the Smart Shunt. And what it's showing you first at the top is the state of charge, 90%. Wow, that's your gas gauge. Now going down further, the voltage on this battery is 13.65 volts. The current coming in is 11.19 amps. Now, if it's a positive number, it means it's a net amount of power going into the battery. If it's a negative number, it's actually the net amount going out. So these 200-watt nameplate solar panels on this particular moment is providing 153 watts. It also has consumed amp hour, and it shows that this battery so far has used 7.1 amp hours. Coming down further, this is the same Smart Shunt and now putting it under a load. It's running a box fan. In this particular instance, the state of charge is now 70%. The voltage is 13 volts. And the output from the battery is 9.5 amps. It's a negative number. The power is 124 watts. In this particular screenshot, the battery has used so far 20.1 amp hours. And the very nice feature that these shunts from Victron have is you have a setting where you can find out time remaining. So I have it set for 3 minutes. So in the most recent 3-minute window, it'll take the average of whatever power I was using, and now it'll calculate your time to go before it says you're done. And you tell the parameters how far down you want the state of charge to go before you say, okay, I'm done. So in this instance, this 124 watt load from this box fan, I could run it for 4 hours and 55 minutes with no solar. And if I had solar coming in with at least 124 watts, then I would have virtually no current going in or out if I balanced it out. Coming down a little further, this picture here just shows another look at what the charge controller looks like. This particular one, I had talked to Kevin Caramanos at PowerWorks and said, I want to try this. And they helped set up the first prototype that I did. This is a 10 gauge wire. And he said, you know, those are really hard to crimp. I would recommend 8 gauge. And so 8 gauge is what I'm using now. And this is what I would call a wide configuration. When I set this in the box, it'll still fit. I also have a configuration that I did for the power box, and I'll show you it's slightly different. So this is a little bit of readout information. You know, I got the red wire is about 7 inches. I've got 8 gauge black wire. They're about 5 inches each. I'm using a 3/8 inch lug. And basically the shunt will tell you how much power in and out via the black negative wire. And then there's the small red wire that connects to the battery terminal. The shunt, when I put it in the bottom of the box, just go ahead and add a little Velcro strip, and that'll help keep it in place. And then here's a picture here of the other power cable coming off this 70 amp hour battery. And all I need to do is just take the shunt itself comes with a ring terminal at the end of this little red wire. I go ahead and cut that off, and I use an Anderson power pole 15 amp connector, crimp, put that on, and all I have to do is just connect this, and the Bluetooth comes on. I see a little blue light, and I can see it's active. And then on my phone, I can hit the Victron Connect, make sure I got my Bluetooth on, because it won't work if you don't. And then I can select which item I see, and opens up, and I can see what's happening. Now, this is the configuration that I have for the power box. They're more narrow, and I had to make the length of the black wires a little bit different because it has to kind of bend around to make the connection to the SB50, the bigger gray connector. So on the battery side for the power box, I did 11 inches of 8 gauge wire. And on the system side, I did 9 inches, and then I have about another 7 inches of the red. But this will fit this setup will actually fit into the power box. And I did that after I did the mega box. This is just talking a little bit more about what it is. Someone could, you know, look at this at some point, take a picture if they wanted to come back and see. So the battery to the shunt, 11 inches, battery to the system, 9 inches, and then 7 inches just to run the red going across. Now, the shunt that you want to get, if you get it from PowerWorks, there's 2 different shunts, and I want to be very clear about which one you want to get. Victron Energy has the SHU050, and they have the SHU065. The 065, you do not want to get that one. It's a marine grade type one, and it has like 2 extra wires that are coming out on the opposite side of where you want them to exit the shunt. I accidentally had a couple of those that I was trying to mess with, and wish that we had this one, the top one, the 050, that's what you want. And then just plan to Velcro it down. This is a picture here of the 300 watt solar panel that you can get from PowerWorks. I have this, I really enjoy this, and I want to get another one. The price per watt is pretty good, but just be aware that some folding solar panels can have higher output. This one is rated for 36 volts, 8 amps. So you need a charge controller that can handle that higher amount of voltage. And the type that you want is what we call the MPPT. And I've got some more illustrations to explain more about those type of charge controllers. Here is where I have 2 Renogy 100 watt foldable solar panels, and I've wired them in series. And I'm actually in this picture using another Victron product. It's a smart solar 100 volt, 30 amp charge controller. This is capable of working or being able to accept up to 440 watts and bring that down to your battery voltage. This is just a closer look at it. These do make some RF noise. They're not as quiet as the DIY Solar for You or the Genasun product. But what I found in my HF testing is I'll have an area I've got some noise, and then I got an area that's quiet, then I got some noise, and hopefully you could work around those areas. I have 2 of these on an RV that we bought this year. We have a new RV travel trailer. It has 880 watts, so 2 440s going down. This is just a picture of the 2 Renogy 200 watt, and I've got that little funny little setup here when I connect it in to put it in series. Here's another picture here with using the MPT Smart Solar. Now, I did some testing on charge controllers to try to get an idea. I didn't have a scope, but I wanted to know which ones sounded noisy and which ones were less noisy. Let's start with this one. This thing is so loud, it's across the band, a wideband transmitter. You are not going to have any joy if you're trying to do HF with this Renogy Rover 40 amp charge controller. So I bought it once, I won't buy any more. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to a much better design is the DIY Solar for You 20 amp Soul charge controller. I've had some testing with this. I haven't done any further testing, but it was quieter. And as I did my testing, the MPT budget 150 and the MPT 300 charge controller and the Bioino Power 30 amp, those were in the still pretty noisy category. The Victrons are slightly less noisy, and the most quiet, still maybe some noise, is the DIY Solar for You and the Genasun GV5 and the GV10. Those I found were the best for quietness. So in my testing, if I'm trying to do a budget and I'm just doing setup for FM, VHF, UHF, definitely get the MPT 150. You can get it through PowerWorks or Impulse Electronics. Just remember that the MPT 300 is not designed for an off-grid regular solar panel. It's for a higher output solar panel or 2 panels in series. And if you're serious about wanting to get MPPT charge controller and do HF, then I think I'd recommend the DIY Solar for You Soul. So if you really don't want to have hardly any noise at all, you can use a PWM charge controller and have a little bit less power. But in an emergency, if we're setting up not for fun, but for helping an agency, MPPT can give you the most power while it's still daylight. And then you want to hopefully top up your batteries by the end of the day. My goal is, of course, your first step with solar is not too expensive, but build your system step by step. Now, let's take a look and talk about a little bit more understanding of MPPT charge controllers and what they do. Here's 2 100-watt solar panels. The one on the left is polycrystalline. The one on the right is monocrystalline. If you're buying solar panels, ideally you want to get monocrystalline. That's your most efficient, most long-lasting. Prices maybe a tiny bit more, but generally you get these for around $120 for a 100-watt solar panel. Polycrystalline is just slightly less efficient. And then way down on the efficiency is the amorphous or thin film. So if I connect 2 panels in series, you want to make sure the wattage size is the same and the voltage. And if I connect in parallel, you can have different amperage output, but the same voltage, and the amps will just add up. So here's a picture here of 2 100-watt panels in parallel. They gave out 163 watts, and this is using the Victron charge controller. At the top is the solar side, so the voltage is 15.6 volts coming from the panels. we had two 5-some amp panels adding up current to 10.4 amps. And then the voltage, what the MPPT charge controller is, it goes DC to AC, and it goes in a transformer, and it takes the higher solar voltage and brings it down to battery voltage. The percentage that it brings it down to battery voltage is the percentage that it boosts your amperage. It's not as significant in this example, but I'm going to show you one where it is more. This is two 100-watt panels in series, not connected to anything. Your open circuit voltage will be much higher. Those electrons are ready to go, but they're not going through any wires yet. And now here is two 100-watt solar panels in series. The voltage is now 33 volts, 33.4. The current is 5 amps. So when you put something in series, the voltage doubles, but the amperage stays the same. But here's where you have a real good illustration of what MPPT charge controllers do. That 33 volts goes through the transformer and now is transformed down to 13.9 volts battery voltage, but it increased the current from 5 amps up to 11.8. And so that's very helpful. Just real quick, I'm running over here some, but the DeWalt DCB 119 car charger, power tools, cordless tools are going to be super valuable. Amateur radio operators can be frequency agile, location agile, and power agile. I would encourage possibly incorporating a little bit of ability to charge those cordless batteries. This battery, this green one, is for my mower, my blower, and it also has a big light. Just real quick, it comes with a 700-watt AC charger. That's more than I want to mess with. I use a Pureline 700-watt true sine wave inverter, and they make a 320-watt model. And this is just an example that I'm using about 25.5 amps, 326 watts with the shunt. And they also make a 210-watt model, and it puts out about 18.5 amps to charge it. This is the portable light. So in an emergency, you might want to have some light. And another item that's really helpful to have is this DC to DC automotive type charger. It can accept 8 to 36 volts in, and it puts out 14.6 volts. And it has a little selector on the side for 2, 4, and 8 amps. So if you're driving somewhere, you can put this in your car and charge your lithium iron phosphate batteries, or from any other battery source, you can top up your smaller lithium iron phosphate batteries. This is just more information about that. You can charge your battery on the go. And because it accepts such a high range, wide range of input, it can also be a backup solar charge controller, providing that the panel is well enough, big enough, and your solar conditions can support either your 2 amp, 4 amp, or 8 amp setting. So my 9 steps: try to use a battery that is some type of power box. Number 2, portable operations. It's much easier if you have a lithium iron phosphate battery. You can charge them faster, and you can get more power out of them when they are charged. Number 3, try to use an MPPT charge controller. When the grid's down, it'll just maximize how much solar you get that day. Number 4, have some way of doing power management. Have an inline DC meter or a shunt like I was demonstrating here. Number 5, if you're going to buy any panels, get monocrystalline. They have the highest efficiency. And realize that your portable, foldable solar panels are not going to put out necessarily as much as the monocrystalline. And we all know that 100-watt panel isn't necessarily going to give you 100 watts. You're going to see less. And then try to have all weather and dry weather solar panels. The dry weather panels are smaller in total size and weight. Use Anderson power pole connectors. That's the universal. Another thing is, if you have rigid solar panels or any solar panels, try to have good airflow behind. The hotter the panels get, the less power they output. And then for connecting up your system, try to use heavier gauge 10 gauge wire versus maybe 14. On your longer runs, you have less power loss. Solar power is fun. May you have plenty of electrons to keep your radios on the air. hope I didn't go over too badly. And any questions?
Anybody have any questions? So
Questions?
we- Oh,
Am I there? Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
Mark. Okay, Mark. Hi, name is James.
Hi, James.
The thing that I'm curious about, now you showed several batteries, but you started off with the Bioenno, which has two
Correct.
type of connectors on it. The Anderson
Correct.
and, for lack of a name,
And-
the one, the cylindrical one. Is there
Yeah,
a
yep.
reason why you avoid it? Is there a difference between the two other than
No, no,
current
they're
handling?
both connected to the battery. And what you can find is the charger that you get for them. You have some where you can plug in directly. The nice thing about having the two is technically you could have power going in and through one, and you could have power going out through the other, but I always want to use an inline fuse. But you can hook it up directly to a charger and then actually take the 12 amp hour battery is what I've done in the past. It's like $125. You can plug it into a 2 amp charger to the wall, hook up your radio and use your radio and have all the fun you want. And that charger just will keep 14.6 volts going. And the little BMS, the battery management system, it's only going to try to get involved with trying to turn off the battery to protect it if it's too high or too low voltage or too many amps trying to be drawn out of the system. And if I don't know if I mentioned this, but if you accidentally trip the BMS, you want to provide a little bit of 12 volts to it to wake it up and say, yes, you can start back up. So they're both connected the same. It just gives you more versatility, I guess.
But they're connected in the same spot inside. I've never
Yep.
tried one apart to find out, so I
Nope.
was just
Yeah,
curious.
you can connect to either one. And that's why the advantage of the shunt, there's two connectors coming out. I connect to the SB50 for going out to the power box, and then I tap into that little power port on the side to operate the tiny little sip of power that the shunt needs. It makes it really handy.
I have one more question.
Absolutely.
You said very quickly, and I don't know if it would hurt the battery or not, but you said you could use a pulse width modulation charger if you were in a bind for charging a LiPo battery.
Okay, so it has to be built for that chemistry. Bioenno Power does make a PWM charge controller that basically will allow this type of settings that you need for a lithium iron phosphate battery. But I wouldn't necessarily go to that because the little MPPT 150 is so small and so handy. Almost everyone should have one, I think. It's just easier to use. But you don't do a 3-stage charging. It doesn't want trickle charge. It only wants constant current, constant voltage, where it just tops off and it cell balances and it's done. I hope that helps answer that question.
all right, anybody else real quick? We're gonna forward out Mark's email address to everybody. And Mark will be more than happy to answer questions that you might come up with even after tonight's meeting and stuff. And we'll so that way that helps you guys. It is a recording. It will get up online soon. I'm running behind on getting a lot of that stuff done, but it will get up online. And it'll be up on the OARC's YouTube channel. Any others?
This is a 2-hour talk that I tried to do in 40 minutes.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Mark. All right.
Okay.
Finally, we're going to wrap it up tonight's meeting. Remember that next month's meeting is not going to happen. We'll come back here in August. I spoke, Ed and I spoke to Mark last night and found out he is actually a NICU nurse up in the over on the West Coast. And I said, interesting that I was Advent Health's helicopter dispatcher, and we do a lot of NICU flights. In fact, When I left at work to come here, we were doing a NICU flight. So 4. All right, we're gonna do the drawings real quick. Choices again, you got one, the last of the name badges that light up, 2 flashlights and a book, the nano book. So the first one, last 3 digits, 560. If you got it, come on up, your choice. Next one, he drawed it, 561. So let Robert take first, whatever one he wants there. You got the book, you got that, okay. Next one, 580. 580. You got a choice between 2 different flashlights, long one or short one. 580. Going once, going twice. 580 is the one we're missing. 587. 587. 587. Got it? Come on up. One more. And you got a choice between it's a small flashlight or a large flashlight. Your choice right there. Right there on the table. 601. 601. Come on up. All right, guys. All right. Thank you for coming out. Remember, no meeting next month. Happy 4th of July. Stay safe. And we'll definitely look forward to seeing everybody at Field Day. All 10 fingers.